councillor staff. Last council meeting of this triennium. Survived. Start with the karakia. Whakataka te hau ki te uru, whakataka te hau ki te tonga, kia makina kina ki uta, kia mataratara ki tai, hi aki ana te atakura, he tio, he huka, he hauhu, ti hei Māori ora. Very good. I've got one, actually Simon's not an apology. No, he is. So Simon may join us online in due course, but at the moment he's an apology. Do I have a mover and a seconder? Councillor Saw, seconded by Councillor Duthie. All those in favour, please say aye. Those opposed, no. Paper passed. Thank you. Public participation, not advised of any. So we've got a series of meetings, minutes. Oh, conflict of interest declarations. Last time to shine a light on your misdeeds, or no, none. Very good. Item 4, confirmation of the public minutes of the Chief Executive Employment Review Committee meeting of the 12th of August 25. Moved by Councillor Staples, seconded by Councillor Laban. All those in favour, please say aye. Those opposed, no. Paper passed. Confirmation of the public minutes of the Te Tiriti o Waitangi Committee meeting on the 26th of August 2025. Moved by Councillor Connolly, seconded by Councillor Ropata. I'm sure I saw a finger twitch there. All those in favour, please say aye. Those opposed, no. Paper passed. Thank you. Paper 6. Confirmation of the public minutes of the Wairarapa Committee meeting on the 9th of September 2025. Councillor Duthie.
I'm just wondering if in item 11 of those minutes there needs to be a statement of whether it was carried or not. So there's motion moved and recommendations there, but no statement of carried or not.
So Francis advises that we'll correct those minutes accordingly. Do I have a mover? I think Councillor Staples and Councillor Duthie. Were you at that meeting, Councillor Duthie?
No.
Doesn't matter. Okay. Very good. All those in favour, please say aye. Those opposed, no. Paper 7. Confirmation of the public minutes of the Climate Committee meeting on the 16th of September 2025. Moved by Councillor Gaylor, seconded by Councillor Connolly. All those in favour, please say aye. Those opposed, none. Thank you. Paper passed. Number 8, confirmation of the public minutes of the Transport Committee meeting on the 18th of September 2025. Don't all rush. Councillor Nash and Councillor Kirkburnand, all those in favour, please say aye. Those opposed, none. Confirmation of the public minutes of the council meeting on 18th of September 2025. Councillor Connolly and Councillor Saw, all those in favour, please say aye. Opposed, none. Paper passed. Confirmation of the public minutes of the Regional Transport Committee meeting on the 23rd of September 25. Councillor Staples and Councillor Laban. All those in favour, please say aye. Paper passed. Are those... Yeah, well, please say aye. Those against, none. Paper passed. Item 11. Confirmation of the public minutes of the Environment Committee meeting on the 25th of September 25. Councillor Gaylor and making a late move is Councillor Lee on the back straight. All those in favour, please say aye. Those opposed, very good. And finally, paper 12, confirmation of the public minutes of the Finance, Risk and Assurance Committee meeting on the... Councillor Bassett making his first showing for the meeting. Seconded by Councillor Kirkburnand. All those in favour, please say aye. Those opposed, none. Papers passed 1 to 12. Thank you very much, councillors. For those of you who are not here normally, there are not normally that many minutes. This is the last meeting of the full council, so it's the last point at which these minutes can be confirmed. So paper 13 is the adoption of the Greater Wellington Regional Council 2024-25 annual report. I'll pass across to Nigel.
Yeah, Thank you, Chair. Look, Clint and the team, would you like to come forward as well? And Ali, you coming up to the table? Ashwin, okay, kia ora, Ashwin. Look, yeah, it looks actually a real. Just imagine if the whole training went that quick. It would be incredible, those minutes. Yeah, it's really it's a nice way to end the training actually by signing off the annual report, and I want to thank all the team that's been involved in the production of the report, from the staff, and also want to acknowledge and thank Clint. This will be the last time that Clint is with us, so it's a nice way, Clint, for you to have a final engagement with this council as well on the last day of their tronium, with all the work that you've brought to the table over quite a number of years now. I think it's been 6, Clint. I've been working with you closely in your team for the vast majority of those, and it's been a real pleasure. So thank you very much, and I'll hand over to you to introduce the report and the content. Thank you. One hand is use off here.
Apologies. Kia ora, councillors. So we're here obviously to present the 24-25 annual report for council adoption, almost 1 month ahead of when we would normally adopt this, and your last annual report for the traineum. At the time that the report was prepared, the audit process was still underway. So we've now completed that this morning. And not to steal Clinton Aussie's thunder, but we will not be getting qualifications on our greenhouse gas emissions. So that's a nice end of tronium treat. And Clint will talk about that further shortly, I'm sure. But just wanted to note that, and also to table a slight amendment to the recommendations for this paper to also reflect change to the recommendations. So we currently say that we will be adopting the annual report and the summary of the annual report, but we'd like to just change that to say that we'll adopt the annual report, but we will just note the summary of the annual report, because council doesn't need to formally adopt the summary report under the Local Government Act requirements, and we are just in the process of finalising that report, the summary document with audit, and so that will happen early next week, and then it will be published alongside the adopted annual report, all within accordance with the Local Government Act. So just the proposed edit to the recommendations is just to reflect that. You don't need to adopt that document. And in relation to the greenhouse gas emissions, something Clint asked me to point your attention to was in the greenhouse gas emissions performance measures disclosure, which is page 76 of your order paper, or page 32 of attachment 1, under the significant assumptions and judgments. We've just made a slight wording change to clarify that some of our activities, we have needed to rely on modelling and assumptions to measure emissions, and that this introduces additional estimation uncertainty. Finally, I would just like to acknowledge the work of the project team, led ably by Sam in corporate planning and Rajesh in Ashwin's team, and also in relation to the greenhouse gas emissions, Jake and Jamie in our climate change team, who have provided a lot of information to help get us over the line on those. Hand over to you if you've got anything to add.
Cool. Thanks, Sophia. And yeah, good afternoon, councillors. I'll take the financial aspects of the annual report. And similar to Sophia, I would like to reiterate the work done by both the teams in the preparation of the annual report, and especially in my team, Rajesh, Daniel, and Elisma, who have done a really good job considering the compressed timeframes that we had this year with the preparation of the financials. The Q4 results, along with an analysis of the key drivers, was presented to Council in August. Since then, there has been no significant changes to the numbers. A summary of all our reserves can be found in attachment 4 or page 267 of the report. And finally, I would like to acknowledge our audit director, Clint Nossi, and the audit team in the preparation of the annual report. over the last few years, we have had a very interesting relationship. I describe it by saying we've had a few differences of opinion, a few debates, robust conversations, but we share a great professional relationship overall. And this has ensured that we are able to adopt our statutory timeframes in the council annual report adoption. So on this note, I'll invite Clint to talk about the audit.
Thank you, Ashwin. Thank you, Chair. I'm sure you rushed through those minutes so you can get to this part of the meeting. So firstly, just to acknowledge councillors and management for all their support over the last few years. It's been really great working on this audit, and also to Zafia and Ashwin and Ellie and the teams here. I mean, really, and I think it was evident today. It's gone down to the wire. I'll tell you that. But I just want to say that the commitment and the professionalism across this organization and the importance they take of audit is really refreshing, I must say. We have, and I've said this every year, we disagree on a lot of things, but we get there in the end. So just my thanks to them and also to my team. To the audit itself. So I think, at the audit committee last week, we were talking about the qualification around the greenhouse gases measure. Within a week, we were able to turn that around, and I think that's testimony to Jake and his team. I really want to acknowledge the quality of the work, the detailed information, etc. I was saying to Nasi, it's even better than the financials. Sorry, Ashwin. The quality and the evidence that supports it's really, really good, and shows the investment this council's made in that part of the business. So I just want to say thank you for that. Because of all that hard work, we've landed today is with effectively a clean audit opinion on your 2025 performance reporting. So both the transport measure and the corporate measures, we've issued an unqualified opinion. Unfortunately, we still have a qualification on the prior year comparative, but that's bygones. Going forward, I think we've got a good basis, to wipe out and have a unqualified opinion around service performance. However, it's always a however. We do have to acknowledge that there's uncertainty in the space, and it's the way it's calculated, and that's reflected in your annual report really well. How these numbers can change year on year depending on new information available. So we have an emphasis of matter, just saying there's a level of uncertainty and estimation. It's not saying that we're qualifying the number itself. The second emphasis of matter is around local waters done well, and council's made, again, the appropriate disclosures around that, and we just refer to it again without making any comment or opining on that. So all in all, I think a really good outcome for council and for the team, yes, and thanks again. Happy to take questions.
Okay, questions, councillors? Oh, before I do, not to embarrass Clint at all, but brought the train along today because at one stage, one of those points of difference that Ashwin was referring to was whether these actually existed or not, and whether they were the right product for our region. So Clint was never a climate denier, but maybe a hybrid train denier. So I just wanted to assure you, Clint, that we've signed on the basis of hybrid trains, and they are a real thing. Slightly bigger than this. Right, questions, councillors? No? Looks like you're maybe all getting off scot-free today. Thank you very much for your collective works on this. Really brilliant. So that just leaves us to move this paper. I will move. Do I have a seconder for the paper? Councillor Duthie. I'm not going to say any more than I just did. Congratulations for everybody for the work into this. I know how much how much work goes into this. Councillor Duthie, no. So yes, Councillor Conley.
I just So the Finance, Risk and Audit Committee saw this paper only last week, and it was not final, and we still had the issues around the carbon emissions as well as the emphasis of Mandaree water. So, and I asked at the time, was it going to be possible to finalise it within the space of a week? And I'm so impressed that the team managed to do that, and also it sorted out the climate change stuff. It sounds like our team has done phenomenal work in that space. So that's really great, and hopefully that will be able to provide a model to other councils who are struggling with the same issue. So I'm just so impressed with the council team, and thank you, Clint, and your team for your hard work over the last 6 years with Greater Wellington.
Councillor Staples.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd just like to say, make an observation, because it's election time and you hear all sorts of things about council finances, about how we've got secret drawers with money tucked in them, etc., etc. And I don't think they realise the rigorous inspections that go on from audit through our own accounting teams to present our finances and these reports. I don't think these people that criticise council's finances have any idea, actually, the hoops we have to jump through to get a good audit report. So I hope they're listening, and I hope they hear what has been said this afternoon. I'm really pleased to be signing this off at our last council meeting.
Thanks, Councillor Staples. If there's nobody else, we'll move. The paper has been moved. All those in favour, please say aye. Those opposed, none. Paper passed. Excellent. Thank you very much. Paper 14, Rangatani Iwi Environment Management Plan, Hamuatanga.
Kia ora, councillors and the chair. Tanya Parata, Director to Hono Hono Mana Whenua Partnership, is online for this paper.
So, Natasha, is she going to take us through, or is Tanya going to take us through?
Yeah, happy to take you through.
Oh, kia ora koutou.
Oh,
Aroha mai, a little bit of a glitch with the system there. I went on hold. And apologies, I'm at home. I'm a little bit sick, but here we are getting this paper through. Kia ora whānau. Just a reminder that this Rangatana Iwi Environmental Management paper was put forward to the Tiriti Committee back in August, following it being formally lodged in July. Documented itself. So we're following on from the processes to ensure that this this iwi management plan comes into play inside our work at Greater Wellington Regional.
Tanya, do you want to turn your video off and we'll just go with the sound?
But that's kia ora.
Oh, it's just very sketchy. Keep on going, Tanya.
So hopefully you've caught all that. It's just by way of introduction. The paper and any technical questions will come from Natasha.
Okay.
We'll be able to answer. Kia ora.
Okay, councillors, you've seen the paper. Do we have are there any questions? Councillor Conley.
Sorry, Natasha, this is the same question that I asked last time, but I still haven't got my head around it in terms of how this plan links into our planning documents and our planning regulations, and the fact that whilst it says it doesn't supersede or it doesn't impose obligations on us, I still have this feeling that in order to actually for Rangatane to fulfil their vision, that we will need to act in tandem. Do you want to confirm or deny?
Thank you. Currently, under the current RMA, Resource Management Act, we have to take into account any EV management plans lodged with council. So take into account for our plan change, doesn't matter is it the NRP, RPS. So that's currently how it's going to look like in a new RM system. We don't know that yet. I just wanted to note that, for example, in our current RPS, we actually have a higher bar for considering the Te Mana o Te Wai statements from our iwi that are currently in RPS. It's recognize and provide for, which is quite a high bar under RMA. So take into account is slightly lower on that RMA hierarchy. But it still directs regional council to take into account any EV management plans lodged with council. I just want to highlight that the EV management plan as such and this taonga that we've been shared to from Rangitane to Maera is also presents like a touchstone for our kaimahi at GW to go to that first when they start thinking about their projects. It's not necessarily just a regulatory context, but anything that we do that relates to Rangitane.
Okay, Councillor Ropata.
How many more can you expect over the next year?
So we know that Ngāti Toa is preparing their EV management plan, and from our contacts, they indicated early next year.
So, question from me: is there anything that the iwi are likely to have to do to amend their plans at all in relation to the new RM reforms that are coming, or do these manage to stand alone irrespective of the change that's happening around us?
You mean EV management plans?
Yes.
So they're irrespective of any change to RM. We just don't know what level of recognition the new RM is going to give to EV management plans. Okay. So that's unknown at this stage.
Oh, thank you. Any further questions, councillors? No, thank you. In that case, do I have a mover in Councillor Ropata and a seconder in Councillor Connolly? Do either of you wish to speak to this? No?
I just I find these iwi management plans really uplifting and exciting, and I hope that they will be recognised in the new RM reforms, so that we can continue to give them the mana that they deserve, and move forward with the iwi together to achieve better outcomes for the Wellington region.
Okay.
Just to quickly add to that, sorry, last night I went to the Ngāti Toa one for the iwi. It was really aspirational, and I think it's going to align with certainly what I've heard in the last 3 years, and hopefully the next 3. So, kia ora te Rangitane for being the first cab off the rank.
Okay, thank you, councillors. All those in favour, please say aye. Those opposed? None. Paper passed. Thank you very much. Next paper is paper 15, which is the end of triennium matters. Francis?
Afternoon, councillors. This report is our standard India Tronium Matters report. Largely it notes either statutory requirements or decisions council's already made around the continuation or discharge of committees and advisory bodies, and it seeks delegation to the Chief Executive for the period between the end of the current council and the swearing in of new councillors in the new council. Nothing further to add. Happy to take questions.
Okay, councillors, is that all pretty straightforward? Any questions? A mover and a seconder. Councillor Saw and Councillor Gaylor. Do either of you wish to give a long-winded speech about this paper? No. Okay. All those in favour, please say aye. Those opposed, none. Paper passed. Delegation to Chief Executives, local water dam well delivery model, item number 16. Morning or good afternoon, Korua.
afternoon, councillors. Lovely to see you. Oh, some weird person. No, great to see you. So I'm pleased to introduce this paper, this report, the Delegation to Chief Executive Local Water Done Well Delivery Model. As you'll see, it seeks Council's approval for a temporary delegation to the Chief Executive, enabling him to make decisions jointly with the Chief Executives of the other Metro shareholding councils. The purpose is to finalise the foundation documents for the new Water Services Council controlled organisation Metro Water, following the end of the Advisory Oversight Group's term at these upcoming elections. So just to remind you, the documents include the draft constitution, the partners agreement, and the principles for the statement of expectations and the customer charter, which are all essential for progressing toward Metro Water's operational launch on the 1st of July 2026. So the delegation is proposed to be time limited, and it's subject to consultation with Councillor Connolly and engagement with Mana Whenua partners, which will ensure continuity and partnership. So it is administrative, this particular step, but it is important to maintain momentum and to meet the program milestones. So I welcome any questions or comments.
Councillor Silk and Councillor Conley.
Thank you for this, and thank you for clarifying how the work will continue in this period. My questions are particularly related to paragraphs 12 and 13, where the new shareholding councils will be making the decisions on the foundation documents. And then paragraph 13 talks about the decisions being made before the 30th November. Just wondering, what is the approach to ensure that incoming new councils are that the induction material to the Metro Water is robust, informative and comprehensive? Because I guess our experience of it so far has been a little bit organic. And there isn't a lot of time to bring new councillors up to speed to make these quite consequential decisions. So could you just tell me a little bit about that process?
I'll kick off, Julie. So thank you for the question, Councillor. I agree, the timeframes are really tight, and we have the decisions that we're looking to make are in mid-December. So if we have a look at our council appoint, firstly the swearing in for our councillors on the 30th of October, then what we're planning at this stage is a tour of the field trip on the 19th of November, and then a briefing workshop with councillors on the 20th of November. So, and that will be that will be based on the strategic briefing material that all new councillors will receive. So so it is tight.
So who has input and oversight over that that pack for all the Metro councillors?
Sorry, the information for all the Metro councillors.
Yeah, and is it just a tour for us that you're for Greater Wellington, or is that for all the shareholding councils?
All the Metro councillors, we're making every effort to make sure that all the Metro councils receive the same information. So Nigel is part of the Chief Executive Steering Group, and that's the main body, if you like, or the main group, along with our Mana Whenua partners, to make sure that the information is as comprehensive as it needs to be to inform the incoming councils.
Okay, Councillor Conley.
I'm just clarifying my understanding that we're all on the same page on this. So at one stage, I guess when we set up this water process, we'd envisaged that the AOG's work would be done by this point. However, I think it was pretty clear at the last meeting that the AOG's work is not done. So this arrangement is just a kind of a holding pattern until we can set things back up again, because there are a number of key decisions that that the team had promised to bring back to the AOG, and I just want to make sure that they will be brought back to elected people as was promised in that last discussion.
So that's correct, Councillor Connolly. We had thought that we'd be able to bring the draft documents to the AOG meeting at the end of September, and that we weren't able to do that. I'd say that's largely because of the change in the voting model that still needed to be worked through. So the AOG, as it points out in the paper, the AOG was able to make those decisions on the voting model and the exit period, and so the voting model, the exit period, and the way that the shares would be transferred from Wellington Water. So that actually eased the pathway, if you like, and provided the main decision-making framework for the preparation of final documents.
I guess the thing that I was specifically referring to is there's outstanding work to be done in both the stormwater space and the growth space that the team had, that I was adamant must be completed and brought back to elected members, that it wasn't appropriate for officials to be signing off on these key decisions, and I just want to make sure that that is still the plan.
So where we are at the moment in relation to stormwater, and is that a stormwater task force is being developed, and the terms of reference is still in development as well. So stormwater is still a work in progress, and that will be brought back to the AOG once it is reformed, and then to the Partners Committee. So that's a piece of ongoing business. The comment around growth is also, I believe, an ongoing piece of business as well, because it is quite complex, and we've worked in the comments that this council has made into the terms, the principles and the terms for the foundation documents. So that will be coming through. Council laws can expect to see that in the foundation documents as they are presented. But we will do our best to, in the briefings that are coming up before the actual decision, is to bring councillors up to speed on where we're at with that one.
I guess, I mean, I don't know that this is the correct space to be having this conversation. It may be more appropriate to be having it in the AOG space.
Yep.
But given it's on a hiatus at the moment, there were key decisions around the principles that we were going to apply to both stormwater and growth that I felt needed to be made before those foundational documents were signed, sealed and delivered. And that's the bit that I am just trying to emphasise needs to happen. It's not sufficient to just incorporate the comments we've made so far. There was quite a lot of work that still needed to be done in those spaces before we finalise the foundation documents, in my opinion.
And we'll continue to pursue that, and part of putting this delegation in place with the consultation back to you in particular is to do a bit of a safety check there and a bit of a net to sort of say, well, is this in keeping with your understanding given the context and of the conversations that you've been involved in and the position you've been putting forward on behalf of the council?
That's correct, and certainly the points that were made at the AOG were recorded. They were noted by all members of the AOG, so there will be an expectation on that collective group as well as your own that they do go back to them.
Councillor Saul.
I guess that's what I was trying to pick up on what Councillor Connolly said around the housing and growth and also the stormwater, is that that sort of information is really, really important for incoming councillors, which comes back to my question of what will the material look like for incoming councillors, because what we have learnt through the process may not be what new councils get to make this decision about the foundation document. So the sequencing of these actions is quite important. And if we're saying that the stormwater work is ongoing and the growth work is ongoing, is that ready to be coming in front of new incoming councillors? Or are they just going to be told, there's some ongoing work about it? I think it's very important that the broad strategic context is set out for new councillors, because we've had, 2 years to be able to learn the operating environment and the interactions of all the responsibilities that various agencies have, and the interactions of all the processes and systems we have. But I just need to know that whatever we're giving new councillors to make the decisions on foundation documents gives that to them clearly in a very short space of time.
Thanks, Councillor. I think we will take that on board and review the material that we have. I can't promise it's not going to be complete. I feel that we should have reasonable expectations of what we're going to get in terms of the detail, but I can say that the feedback that we've had to date has been worked into the foundation documents in terms of the background information, so I don't want to dismiss that, and there will be more progress made, but so I think we'll continue to connect with Councillor Connolly and make sure, and obviously Nigel, and make sure that we will present as much as address all those questions in the briefings.
Okay. Councillor Ropata.
Can I suggest that actually this is something worthy of a good induction workshop that has a lot of time around it in the new training?
Yes, so we've got there's a strategic briefing which includes water reform and Metro Water establishment. There's also going to be a strategic presentation as well, workshop, 1 hour. In fact, I think we get to go first at the moment on the agenda. So, you know, that'll be great. And then we're trying to do our best to ensure that as part of all the induction materials that there's supplementary reading for anyone who does need to get more up to speed, like on the water services delivery plan, for example. Recognising that water is not the only big ticket item that new councillors will need to get across. So cognizant of that, but yes, it is one of the priorities for our induction.
Plus, we're trying to get councillors out on a field trip, so you can eyeball the assets that we administer at the moment.
Yeah, look, excellent conversation. Thank you. We will be doing early and vigorous around the information around this program of work. All councils understand that the transition between the mahi done to date and what needs to be done in the future, with everyone transitioning between councils, presents a challenge. It's not ideal. It's not where probably ideally the process would be, but it is what it is. So we're all going to be working together very closely around the material, consistency of message, and for this council, the incoming councillors, in addition to what Julie's spoken about, if there's a need to bespoke some conversation for this incoming regional council, that's easily done. So we realise that we'll have a lot of people to bring up to speed in a very short period of time, and certainly on those returning councils, and which is why Councillor Connolly in particular referenced in this paper, there is a lot of knowledge and skill base at the political level around this table as well, which will need to be brought to bear to help inform the incoming council. So as best as we can be, I think we have the risks covered. We clearly understand the task at hand in terms of information and education, and all chief executives in Metro Water are very much in the same boat and answering very similar questions from their councils.
Okay, do I have a mover, Councillor Connolly, and seconder on this matter, Councillor Duffy? Either of you wish to speak to this? No. All those in favour, please say aye. Those opposed, none. Paper passed. Thank you. Shareholder resolutions in lieu of annual general meeting, WRC Holdings Limited. Good afternoon. Good to see you back, Sarah. Jan, are you?
Oh, yes, I am. Yep. So just taking this principally as read. This is formalising the not to hold an AGM by WCR Holdings, and there's 3 resolutions which need to be voted on, which is the accepting of the financial statements and the annual report, and to appoint the Port New Zealand as the auditor for the coming year, and also to accept the auditor's fees. Yeah, that's it, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Any questions, councillors? Do I have a mover and a seconder? Councillor Kirk-Bernand and Councillor Bassett. Do either of you wish to speak to the paper? No? Okay. All those in favour, please say aye. Those opposed? None. Paper passed. Thank you. Issue of unpaid share capital to fund Greater Wellington Rail Limited, capital expenditure for 25-26.
Thank you, Chair. So the capital expenditure in Greater Wellington Rail is 100% funded by issuing shares to WRC Holdings, and Holdings in turn issues shares to Council. The shares are issued as uncalled, and when funds are spent, money is drawn down against the shares. As per the 2025-2026 Statement of Intent for Rail, the total capital expenditure is expected to be around 144 million. And we still have roughly 61.4 million shares issued but uncalled from the previous year. So this paper therefore is aimed at seeking council approval to issue an additional 82.6 million shares. I'll take the paper as read and happy to take any questions from the councillors.
Okay, councillors, questions? Councillor Staples.
Thank you. This might sound like a really dumb question, but can we just keep issuing shares until, you know, there's 1 billion shares? Or is there some form of cap in the legislation that says, well, this is as many shares as you're allowed to issue?
Through your chair, there's no such thing as a dumb question, but as far as we are aware, there's no cap as such. Because the whole purpose of having a share capital is to enable the company to grow and meet its objectives as it goes along.
Right, moved by Councillor Nash, seconded by Councillor Kirkpanand. All those in favour, please say aye. Those opposed, none. Paper passed. Thank you. Finance update report. Item 9. Good afternoon, Ali.
Kia ora koutou, councillors. Before I hand over to Ashwin for the nuts and bolts of the report, so difficult questions to him, please, I want to thank councillors for your diligent engagement over the last 3 years. I have appreciated your questions and your commitment to good governance. And I particularly today want to acknowledge Clint for his leadership and partnership through the audit process. We have worked together prior to Greater Wellington, so he will be a bit of a loss to me because I've worked with him for the majority of my time in local government in places I've been. His guidance has been invaluable and has been involved in strengthening our financial integrity and transparency, so a great personal thanks from me. And thank you all for the strong foundations that you've helped to build. Now, all difficult things for Ashwin, please.
Thank you, I guess.
I joke.
Through your chair, so the paper presents the financial results of the council for the 2 months ended August 2025. Council has made an operating deficit of 3.4 million, and just to reiterate, it's an accounting deficit, not a funding or a cash deficit. The revenue, operating and capital expenditure variances to budget are summarized on page 509 and 510 of the report. Farebox revenue is currently tracking to budget, but similar to last year, we will be keeping a close eye on it. And especially when we update our forecast numbers next month, we'll have a better handle on what the numbers are looking for. I'll take the report as read and happy to take any questions from the council.
Questions? This is your last opportunity, Councillor Kirkpanand. Okay. No questions? It looks like we don't have any questions. Thank you very much. It's for information only, this paper. Right. We arrive at what I think is sort of quite a sad part of our agenda, end of the triennium, and a time when we farewell those councillors that we know we're farewelling. The rest of you, all that well, apart from Ros, have that little bit of uncertainty still ahead of you with Saturday. But for today, at least, councillors Bassett, Kirkpanand, Laban, Lee, and Nash, you have called an end to your regional council career. And time for you to sort of maybe give us a few words on your experiences, times, reflections, and maybe even some messages. Who knows? Now they're listed in alphabetical order, so I think we'll just stick with that if people are happy with that. First up, Councillor Bassett. Yeah, no, please.
It actually reminds me of my school days. I was always the first to do the morning talk or whatever it was. And in my final year in the sixth form, I had 2 Andersons. So I really did pretty well at the end of the day. Tēnā koutou katoa. Good afternoon to you all, and thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, for me to say a few words as I leave. I do leave, sadly, I'm sort of going, and I've got my hanky here already if I get emotional, so please bear with me. I have actually prepared a statement which I would prefer to just read to you because I've given quite a lot of thought to it. And it does give you a little bit of advice that I want to pass on. My time on council has been very satisfying, and I have felt that I have learnt more than I have contributed. I say this not only because of the issues that we have said or considered, as they are complex, and there's a lot of history that comes with these particular issues, which for particularly a new councillor takes quite some time to come to grips with. One only has to think about the many programs that we have been involved in over the past 3 years. The procurement process for the trains and buses, the Riverlink project, the Three Waters, strengthening our relationships with our respective iwis within the region, and of course the wonderful environmental programs that we have going. All these are special in their own way, but for me to see the Riverlink project commence after many years of planning is incredibly satisfying. This project will give significant increased protection to Hutt City and its surrounds, especially its hospitals and also its emergency services. I have also gained real satisfaction from being on the board of the GW Holdings Limited. I have come to appreciate the importance of Centreport to our region and beyond. As I have often said, it is an important part of our State Highway number 1, and I strongly believe, and this is one of the advice I would like to give the Council, is that it is critical that this particular entity remains within the public ownership. If there has to be some change, I would like to see us at least keep it at 75%. To the chairs of the committees and to the chair of the holdings companies, I just want to salute you for what you have done. It's been a tremendous amount of work and commitment, and I thank you for it. I'd also like to acknowledge my Te Awa Kairangi, Hutt City colleagues, Ken and Quentin, for your support. It's been absolutely wonderful, and I wish you, particularly too, that you must, in your election endeavours with Ken, with the Mayoralty of the Hutt and Quentin on Regional Council. To our two leaders, Darren and Adrian, thank you for your leadership. Darren, I have really appreciated your approach in terms of your leadership of this council. It has been inclusive, allowing all councillors to express their views. And you have always had an open door policy, which has enabled me to come in and chew your ear on the matters that come to my mind. And that I have appreciated. Nigel, to you and your leadership team, thank you for your support. I have a great respect for you and your team. In fact, all staff I have a higher regard for their expertise and their readiness to help and assist. As I have mentioned to you before, I have been particularly appreciative of the high quality of officers' advice and their reports, which are so critical to elected members. Finally, I just want to say, for those that are standing in the Regional Council, again, all the very best. I also want to acknowledge those that are retiring, all the best. And as I said, particularly to those with David going to Wellington City, all the best, David, and Ken for your Hutt Mayoralty. So look, again, just thank you for the time and the opportunity to express some of my views. Thank you.
Good, David. Councillor Cooper, Nate.
Well, firstly, my apologies to the people I've got my back to here, because I speak not just to council but to all of the people here in the room. I just want to make a point that I come from a different perspective. For over 60 years now, I've been employing people, working with people. I've still got people working for me who one particular person's been there about 35 years now, and we're not talking family here. And I get great loyalty from the people I deal with. I'm not one to run around and pat people on the back for just doing their work, but I am always willing to make really strong comments and recognise extraordinary work in that. When I came onto council, I was very much aware that my responsibility was to represent people of all of the region. But I've lived most of my life now in Pororua, and Pororua is quite unique in the Wellington region in that Maori and Pacifica make up over or just on 50% of the population there. It's a wonderful community to live in, and from the very first time here, my commitment has been to work towards what is in the interest of low and middle income people in that order. And I think that's an opportunity that I've valued here. My perspective on governance is quite different to most of the people around the table here. And I think that I often feel that we get involved into micromanagement. There's a lot of political ideology that happens here. And maybe that's the nature of councils throughout New Zealand, but it's something that I'm not familiar with. It's not something that I enjoy or get a lot of satisfaction from. And I feel in many ways that the reason I'm uncomfortable with it is because we need lateral thinking, we need fresh ideas, we need innovation, because the world around us is changing, in my view, much quicker than we're changing as an organisation. That there's changes going throughout the world, not just New Zealand, and I don't believe that we keep up with them at the moment. We need to be willing to change, and we need to bring high levels of energy to that change, and I'm not sure that we are well prepared for that. I think as councils go, I think we're perhaps the best or one of the best, but I think we've got a long way to go to understand the changing market we're working at, both politically but more essentially economically, which has driven the political side now. At the chance of ignoring so many things I don't understand, I just want to make the point to some of the areas of excellence which I've noted here, which are really important to me. The changes in our environment organisation and what we've done there have been very, very positive in that, and I can see that in how they operate, the quality of the reports we get through, the feedback, the quick action on any issues and that. And so I'm really grateful for that. And I think that's one area that we've really progressed significantly in the 6 years I've been here. Our financial reporting is the same. We've had big changes in the 6 years I've been here, and I really appreciate that. And I know that it's a whole team and a lot of work in it, and I think that's wonderful. Riverlink, I think, is a project that we're doing really great on, and I really have always admired the oversight that we carry out there by our people and the decision making that they've made and how we do that. Transport is our biggest area of expenditure, our biggest investment as such, and there's certainly silos of excellence there, but I don't see that the flexibility exists that we need for the changing market we're in. And in many ways, you only have to look at the fact that 2018, our passenger numbers were only slightly below what we're doing now in 2025 in the year that's finished. So there haven't been big changes there in the number of passengers, but there's big changes in investment. And really there should be a relationship between those things and that. I also, everyone knows that I've had it on and Darren made a comment before about finances and that, but I get annoyed about the budget balance over the last 4 years in transport and that. And my issue for me is twofold. One, we don't discuss it as a council round the table. So I raise it and everyone says, oh yes, but no one wants to sit down and have a discussion about it. That concerns me. And secondly, I know we can't fix those things immediately, but the first thing you've got to do for success is to talk about the issues that you face and move forward. And of course, the other area, and I want to just make sure I know Emmett's there, sort of not sure whether he's got a knife coming for me or giving me a hard time, but I've given him a hard time about Waterloo. But just understand the transport interchange part of Waterloo, I support absolutely, but that's a $35 million project looking at the figures that have been put up. I'm concerned about the cost of some 75% of the costs for the high risk TOD side of it and that. And 75% of those costs will come on Wellington, Pororua and Kapiti, and there's an issue there that I think won't go away, and I think we need to handle it quicker. Holdings, I appreciate the opportunity to chair that, and I really enjoy business and that, and it's an area that I've got a lot of experience in and that, and more lately I've been saying to people, look, we've got the opportunity of establishing a $400 million or more resilience fund in 9 years from now. Now, I've been here 6 years, and it's not a very long time. It's gone very quickly. And I say to the people here, please keep in mind that we can do this while maintaining our commitment to Centreport and that. There's a great opportunity to build up a resilience fund so that with the climate change issues we're facing, the changes to the environment and that, it will give a backup to us. It would be a very, very positive thing for council to adopt and move towards, and we can do that. Take it from me. I love the numbers and I'm good at them and that. Coming from Pororua, when our iwi involvement in the long-term plan, I was a big supporter in that and I remain a supporter of it. But it concerns me that when we're talking about values, when we're talking about things that are close to people's heart and that, to extrapolate them into the work we do, you need to be talking about what we're putting into budgets and taking out of budgets and that. And we never do that. And we never did that as our long-term plan committee. We left that to the executive. And I feel that when you're dealing with these issues that are from the heart and that, we should be raising those items about should this be in the budget or should this be out? Because it's not as simple as having policies and expectations. It's more about how you exercise those policies and expectations. I love the community, and I've always had a long involvement in the community and that. And my work here has been to do the best I can for the community and that. And you can't do that without having good relationships with the people that you're working with and that. And even though people may not agree with me, and I may not agree with people on some of the things, we've got a professional relationship which allows us to work through those issues and deal with them. We can agree not to agree on things. We can be respectful of our position and the differences that we hold. And I think that that's really, really important. I think that that's one of the things that when you look at the other councils, or particular Wellington City Council, we are completely different to them. People understand how to work with respect with people round the table, people in our executive side of our organisation and the public we deal with. And so really I want to finish up with that saying I'm not in love with my councillors, but I have enjoyed working with you for 6 years. I have enjoyed the challenges there. To the people within Greater Wellington on the executive and that, there's a large number here, some of whom I know better than others, but I've learnt to respect and understand the work they do and the value it is for our community and that. And I would encourage you to keep up the good work you're doing, and I look forward to hearing more positive things from the work that we do in the future. And from my own point of view, people keep asking me, what am I going to do? Well, one of the things is some of the things I'm interested in publicly, I can probably do better outside of council than inside of council. As Nigel and I often talk about, my job here on council, when I don't agree, is to try and change council. It's not to go to the newspaper and talk to the newspaper. It's not to belittle us because I don't agree with things. It's rather to try and bring about positive change that we'll all benefit from. So thank you for the opportunity. I appreciate the time here, and I'm sure you'll still hear from me as we look here. Thank you.
Kia ora, Chris. Thank you. Councillor Labour. Yeah.
E te me ki a koe, whānau ki ora tātou katoa, i moa o te whatalofa atu le pai le mamala le nei awanoa, and in spirit of Fijian Language Week, Nisam Pulavinaka. I'm reminded of Martin Nomola. He was a German pastor, and he penned a poem many years ago. When the Germans came for the communists, I stayed quiet as I wasn't a communist. Then they came for the Jews, and I remained quiet as I wasn't a Jew. And then they came for the trade unionists and the socialists. Again, I stayed quiet as I was neither. And then they came for the Catholics. Again, I stayed quiet as I was a Protestant. And then they came for me, and there was no one left to speak. When I reflect on my 12 years as a regional councillor, the first thing I'd like to observe is that sitting behind in the SLT table, there were only 2 women. And the diversity, the debates, the robust debates that happened, and there were some very tough debates, Darren and Adrian, as you may recall, trying to change the culture of an organisation. And I remember clearly the eloquence and strong character of Sue Kedgley, who was a wonderful, wonderful public servant, who was strong and true to her values, who had a significant impact on all of us who had the pleasure to serve with her and alongside her. And among the many things I'm going to remember about my 12 years is the people that have impacted our work and impacted my life over the course of that period. For many years, I've opposed the establishment of a Māori ward, but it's time to change, and I've been thinking about it. Those were the opening words. I hope that's right, Adrian Staples, that paraphrased a very powerful speech that Adrian gave at the stadium when we were in temporary accommodation over, I don't know whether Adrian set out to be, but it was a time for change speech that she gave. And I remember there was no majority at the time. Adrian, as those of us that were in that meeting knew, you stood against the tide of populist opinion. And in the course of that speech, is defining piece of our history. Isn't it interesting when we reflect the current referendum that we're in now? And 12 years ago, there wasn't anybody from Burma elected to the regional council. There wasn't anybody from China elected, and nor was there a Māori elected. It was a 36-year wait before we finally got recognition, and we're starting to see a diverse council that's reflective of the community that it represents. And it has been a tough period in public service over diversity, inclusion, and equity. And when I reflect on my time, I think that the opposite of diversity is uniformity. The opposite of equity is inequity. And the opposite of inclusion is exclusion. So, you can ask ourselves very obviously, what kind of world do we want to live in? And I reflect on my time, 12 years, and the people that have stood up, the people have had the strength of character to speak and stand against populist opinion, make big decisions, bold decisions. backed up and supported by an outstanding leadership team, especially in the last 3 years. But I go back to my time of not that I want to out the Mazzoli's, but Nigel has been there, Francis and Luke. We go back and we have lived through that change to the point where we're very proud of where the regional council is. I agree with everything that the previous speakers have said in terms of their eloquence, acknowledgement, and recognition of an outstanding management team, and the relationship between our governance group and the management team is, in my view, without peer. Very, very sad to not be not returning to the regional council. It is my biggest regret in 2025. Obviously, I'm hoping for a good result on Saturday. So those of you living in the huts, the last day to vote tomorrow. But I just want to finish by saying, Elia le manuia le tautua. It's a Samoan proverb, and it means the road to greatness or the road to leadership is paved in service. And the many conversations I've had with Nigel in my capacity as chair of the Chief Executive Employment Review Committee has been that we employ Nigel to do KPIs and address all the issues around management. We don't actually employ him for leadership qualities. He brings that to the table himself. Nigel, you're an outstanding leader, manager and executive of our organisation. We've been blessed to have had you with us. I think 18 years you've been with the organisation, and now you're at the head of it and doing an outstanding job. I miss you, respect you, and look forward to working with you again in the future. Francis, our time together has been special. Wish you both on a professional level, and Ken, my son needs a job, and I got him one at Taylor Preston on the cutting of the meat. Good times, but as I say, I'll be. I'm sad to leave, but not sad that I'm served. That I've served alongside everybody. Kia ora.
Thanks, Steve. Thank you, Councillor Laban. Councillor Lee.
Kia ora tātou. Mr. Chair, councillors, officers, I'll just stay here as well because I'm quite comfortable here for the next half hour or so. and more importantly, I don't want to turn my back against to staff. Well, it's been 6 years. Yes, it is hard to believe. It has been 6 years. But I've truly enjoyed the journey. It's been full of big ideas, robust debates, but also plenty of laughs along the way. But what I really admire about this council is that is the respect, the professional attitude around the table. We are actually a bunch of very different people. We have different backgrounds, different personalities, and sometimes we even have different views. But we've shown that you don't have to agree to be respectful. And I think that's the thing which sets us apart. And this is not a dig at Wellington City Council, but it really is. Okay. I also want to have a huge shout out to our council staff. And just to correct Councillor Kirkman, he said that we're one of the best. We are the best. And I think we do have the best people in the land. Smart, steady, endlessly patient with us elected members. You make us, you actually make me at least look good. So I'm forever grateful. Of course, not everything went perfectly over the last 6 years. I'm still emotionally scarred and traumatized from the time when I was criticised for using the word sexy. Even now, I'm a little bit nervous even using that word. But who knew that local government could be such a minefield? But if that's my worst experience, I'll get over it eventually. Okay. So as chair of the Te Puka Taio, it was, to be honest, it was somewhat sexy, but it was actually a very effortless role. Yeah, mainly because we never quite had our inaugural meeting, right? But even without one, we still achieved plenty in the environmental space. So we had Plan Change 1 of the Natural Resources Plan. I think we've just finished all the hearings. And we almost got the RPS across the line. I was hoping that today we could actually make it operative, but I guess things don't work out that way. But that will be the next council. But it was quite a big achievement. And beyond that, there's a whole list of things I'm quite proud of. I'll probably list about 4 or 5. The accessibility charter and action plan that was from the last term. So I think that was significant. It was about making our public transport network inclusive for everyone. So that was I think it's a huge step in terms of our whole approach towards public transport. The Airport Express and Tower On Demand, I think they were two services. They're both great initiatives, and I'm confident that On Demand will be the future of public transport one day. And the now abandoned Let's Get Welly Moving program. Right? I think it's a reminder that sometimes the numbers just don't stack up, no matter how good the branding looks. And PTAG, the Public Transport Advisory Group, I think it's a brilliant model for genuine engagement with the community, and I hope the next council will use it as a model for engagement, and not just for public transport. Riverlink, of course, which has been mentioned by Chris. I think it's the biggest urban renewal project. I know our focus is all around flood management, but I see it as a urban renewal project, and I think that's probably the biggest urban renewal project in New Zealand, not in terms of money, but in terms of impact. And that's just scratching the surface. I think there are plenty of more initiatives that I haven't mentioned, and I think we can all be proud of the direction we've set. So to my fellow councillors, I wish you all the very best, whether you're staying in politics or moving on to new adventures. It's been a true privilege to serve alongside you. This is farewell, but not goodbye. So thank you, Mr. Chair, fellow councillors and council staff officers. Kia ora.
Thanks, David. Thank you, Councillor Lee and Councillor Nash.
Well, thank you, Chair. Kia ora koutou katoa. Like Councillor Bassett, I've written a speech for, I think, the first time ever around this table. I've said plenty of things, but I haven't really written them out and prepared them. So, like you, Councillor Bassett, I'll read my remarks. So thank you first to all of my fellow councillors, both past and present. I want to thank you for the trust and confidence you've shown in each other and in me. I think that spirit has helped us achieve a lot around here. Thank you to all the Greater Wellington staff, the front desk team, our cleaners, all the staff who sit in the hot seat, the staff that do the unseen work, and particularly to the climate team and the Metlink team, who I've worked really closely with over my time in chairing roles around the organisation. Thank you to our mana whenua partners for sticking with us, guiding us, participating in our processes even when they leave a lot to be desired. It can't always be easy, so I'm very grateful to mana whenua. Thank you to my friends and family, especially Adeline. I know how much you've sacrificed for me to be able to do this work, and I'm very grateful for all the love and support that family and friends have shown me. It's a great honour to be able to contribute, I think, in this way as a regional councillor. Being directly elected to a job by the people in the place where you live is a distinct privilege and a distinct feeling. And I want to thank everybody who has voted for me, supported me in my work. I'm deeply grateful and deeply respectful. I think as a council we've achieved a lot over the last 6 years. I won't list them. All of the things. Don't worry. But I also wanted to say I think we've set some strong foundations for the next council as well, and that's a good thing because there's a lot to do. And I want to make 4 quick reflections, well, reasonably quick reflections on my time as a councillor. The first point is that more is possible than many people often think. When I first was campaigning to be elected in 2019, we were campaigning on bringing the airport bus service back inside. And as Councillor Lee mentioned, we did manage to do that. But when I was campaigning, many people said, oh, just drop that one. It's not possible. Pick another one. That won't happen. And even after being elected, it was still considered impossible for a while. But we've done it and it's working really well. People also said, many people said it would be impossible to bring back public ownership or control of our bus depots. There were lots of reasons that would never happen, but it's also happening. Scaling up the restoration of our regional parkland into native forest and wetlands was also considered impossible for a while, and so was phasing out grazing, but that's also happening. And I remember many people said that the bus service patronage and reliability would never recover from the hits that it had taken, multiple hits that it had taken over the years, but that is now at record high levels of patronage and reliability, and I think something we can all be proud of. Of course, none of this is easy, and that brings me to my second point, which is about conviction and timing and judgment. It's, I think, a fine balancing act to push for what you believe in and stick to your principles, and to keep pushing even when it's hard, whilst also listening to and taking advice from a wide range of people, and also recognizing when it might not be the right time to be pushing something. And I think that is all the more important, that concept of balancing conviction and timing and judgment. It's all the more important now when I think the world is seems like a harder place in a way than it did when I was elected 6 years ago. It feels harder today to advance initiatives on climate and the environment. I'm probably not the only person who can feel that. And to be honest, actually the world feels quite overwhelming in some ways. But I'm convinced that things will turn around again, and that there are better times ahead. And that brings me to my third point, which is when you're struggling, when the external environment is very challenging, there is always something that you can do as an organisation, and that is focusing on the everyday basic material needs of people. And that's I think, the critical task for public institutions like ours at this time. I think it is to focus on those basic needs that everybody has, and to really try and do them well, and to meet people, in doing so, to meet people where they are, not where we would like them to be. Public transport is a really good avenue for doing this. Public transport makes it possible to build more homes for more people for much lower infrastructure costs, and it's one of the cheapest and best ways to reduce emissions. But it also happens to be a way to improve people's everyday lives, getting them where they need to go efficiently. I think public transport is one of the best ways in cities that we can advance climate action without saying that we're advancing climate action. I don't want to step back from needing to advance climate action, but when there is a tide flowing against you, you need to find ways to advance it that will actually work where people are. So I think that focus on everyday basic needs is probably the single biggest point and lesson that I will take away from my time here. I think we've got better at it as an organisation, but I think there's a lot more that we can do to focus on that. And I know that there are people around this table and within the organisation who are determined to champion that focus on everyday material needs and improving people's lives. And the fourth and last thing that I would like to say is the importance of taking small steps and delivering them well. And that means better bus shelters, better bus lanes, better railway stations, better information and communication to people. I think these things are in many ways far more important for councils like us than mega projects that we have in some ways much less control over than the small steps that we can take and that we can deliver. That's a big lesson, I think, for me over the time here. Those smaller but really important things for people that people notice every day. Those are things that deserve more focus from us as an organisation, I think. And that, I think, is focusing on those smaller but really important things is a way to build trust in us as an institution. And I think we know that public institutions are in trouble when it comes to trust, and we need to do everything we can to rebuild some of that trust. And I think that when we show people that our services that they expect will do work, and when we show them that the improvements we're saying we will deliver actually get delivered and actually improve their lives, that helps to rebuild that trust in us as an institution. So thank you again to everybody here at Greater Wellington and to everyone in the Wellington region, no matter what our interactions have been over the past 6 years. You've taught me a lot. I will always be grateful for your trust and your support and your text messages and emails about the MetLink network. I'm imagining they probably won't stop next week, but that's all right. So thank you again, and thanks for the opportunity, Chair, to make some remarks. Ngā mihi kia koutou, mauri ora kia koutou katoa.
Kia ora tau. Thank you, Councillor Nash. We're now going to go into public excluded. So can I get a mover and a seconder? Councillor Saw, Councillor Gaylor, all those in favour, please say aye. Those against, none. Yeah. Thank you.